Hey, Will, how's it going?
I was going pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I mean, we're both repping Inner Miami today. I get a chance to talk to you. So, this is already off to a great start. Hi, friends. Welcome to the Developer Health Show, produced by G2I. G2I matches companies with high impact engineers by offering transparent tech interviews and putting developer health first. My name is Michelle Bakels, and I'll be your host. Today, we're joined by Will Johnson, Senior Developer Advocate at Auth0, a comprehensive identity platform providing authentication and authorization services for applications. In addition to Auth0, Will's an instructor for Egghead, a conference speaker, and he'll be joining us as an MC for React Miami 2024. He's also a big Major League Soccer and National Women's Soccer League fan, usually supporting Kansas City. However, today we're both repping the 305 since Will lost a little bet the last time Inter Miami and Sporting KC faced off. So without further ado, let's get to it. So we first met, I believe, the first time we ever met was at React Miami when you spoke at React Miami. And you have been back every single year. You spoke again last year, and then this year you are emceeing with Demetrius Clark. So tell me your thoughts around that. What's going on? Any spoilers?
No spoilers. Not yet. At least it's too early for spoilers. We could tease a little later. Um, but yeah, it's like So React Miami the was the first talk last year, the first conference talk that I ever gave. And one of the reasons I even applied was just the tone that was set like on like social media and the Twitter account. It just really seemed like a conference where I could feel comfortable to talk at. I don't know how to explain it, but just the vibe was right. This is the first conference where I felt comfortable enough to where I wanted to apply and speak, and be in front of a crowd of people. So the vibe seemed very welcoming, very, it kind of like just matched with me, right? And then so I brought my wife that time. We had a great time. We went to like Super Blue and the Art
Mm,
Tech House, and ate at some restaurants and stuff like that. Um, so from then I kind of like fell in love with the city of Miami in general, from those extra days of just me and my wife being there, and then just being at the conference. The community was great. Met a lot of people. People said that they seen my stuff online and was like happy to meet me
nice.
in person. So it was a very impactful visit to Miami like that last time. So I was happy to come back last year, speak again. And which is hilarious because that's time I actually brought my wife and my daughters. So I brought more family this last time. Um but I was like even more comfortable at this talk. This talk, I really was like my whole self. I was making jokes and
You
stuff like
owned the
that.
stage.
I was really, thank you. But I was really like myself, and it got a great reaction. And then we did the volleyball, which was a lot of fun. Like more people showed up to that
Mhm.
than I thought. Maybe like 5 people, 4 people like responded to the tweet, but like 20 something showed up, to where we really had too many people on a volleyball court according to the rules. We probably could have had like 2 courts. So yeah, it's just like every time I come to Miami and React Miami, it's always a great experience. I always meet a lot of people and just have a great time learning and connecting. So I'm happy to MC and facilitate and be able to connect with some of my friends who are speakers, and give them a good intro, and kind of just create the vibe that was already set. Just put like my own little spin on it. So I'm excited about it.
We're excited about it too. I don't think that there could be anybody better to represent React Miami than somebody who spoke there twice, been there every year. Like you already get it. You already know what it's about. So, and then Demetrius is just like wild. He's just like
Yeah.
untameable. And I mean, that's really Miami. Miami is like no rules, like be yourself. So I'm like really excited about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Um,
if I had to, it's like I'm downtown Miami and Demetrius is South Beach, right? If we had to,
Oh my god, I cannot wait to see Demetrius on South Beach again. I just love the way everybody shows up. Like people fly from all over the world and they show up in like floral shirts and shorts and like
Hmm.
cool sunglasses. Everybody's just like ready to vibe. Like it's the best
Yeah.
atmosphere. Yeah. Well, I love it. I'm super excited. But I want to like dig into developer health conversation and
Mhm.
dig into why I thought you would be a great guest for our new show. So I will back it up, like do this timeline style, back it up to 2019. You posted something on Twitter that was saying that that year you had gotten out of a toxic job. And the next step was that you were going to get your health and your weight together. And then ever since then, you've been really, really consistently sharing updates on Twitter about your health journey and some challenges that you faced and what worked for you and some things that didn't work for you. And so I would love to just start by first asking what were some of the differences between your last job and your current job, which is now Auth0 by Okta, that was a kind of like the wake up call or the catalyst, and B, what's different now that allows you that space to prioritize yourself.
Yeah. So this was as far as like from that tweet, that was from when I first transitioned into tech from a previous like industry. So I was mainly working in factories before then. I think if I had some I don't know, it was a tweet I had the other day that Angie made a good joke about, like from Twinkies to TypeScript. Um so basically, like at that like job or whatever, like the environment was like, very toxic. The people didn't, I don't know if you know about factory work, but usually they don't treat you well, right? They make you work overtime, like consistently, they're always yelling about something. It's like always just like a really like negative vibe. And they really don't pay a lot, especially, in the current times. So it's like you're not really getting paid a lot. You're getting talked to like crazy. Like my thing was, and I didn't even really notice this until I took some time to actually think about like how did I get to like almost 300 pounds, right? Um, but it was because like everything like involved in that scenario was negative, because work takes a lot of big part of your life. I was working 12-hour shifts. You have to drive there. Then the overtime, like most of my time was spent at work. So most of my life was in like a negative emotional state. Um, and so one of the things that I used as like a pacifier was food, right? So um, have a bad day at work, then I go to a fast food place and get a bunch of stuff, or um go to the gas station before I leave work and grab a bunch of honey buns or something like that. Like food was like that thing that was like a instant, oh, this feels better, right? Even though my whole day may have been horrible, I can eat, a bunch of this stuff and, feel happy or decent, or whatever the case was being. So I did that consistently over years. And then kind of noticed like, wow, I'm like, you know, way a lot more than what I'm used to, because it happened, over years, but I didn't really, notice it because, I'm using this thing as a crutch. But the dangerous part about that crutch that I used, instead of trying to fix the core problem, is that I created a habit. I did it so much that I created a habit that any little inconvenience would almost trigger me a urge to want to eat food. Like if I come downstairs and my son didn't wash the dishes, I would almost, even though I told him to, right? I'm like, hey, wash the dishes. I come downstairs and not dishes. All of a sudden, I want to eat some Reese's cups. Like that's not even a really, that's not a bad thing on the scale of bad things that can
Yeah.
happen, but I ingrained it so much into me um that that's like my go-to when something is, not going my way. So I just wanted to kind of, explain, I guess, how I got there. Um so now the transition into tech, um several reasons, right? Like there's no one micromanaging what I'm doing. There's no one, constantly yelling at me. There is no overtime. I can work till 7 p.m. if I want to, and some days I do want to, right? There might be something I really just want to get done, so I don't have to worry about it. So I might do that. There are times when I don't want to work, where I want to, get off at, 5 o'clock or, 4 o'clock or whatever. So it's like I get that freedom, and there's no one forcing me to do anything. There's no one, talking negatively to me or anything like that. And then also, being transparent, the pay is a lot better. So, I don't
Sure.
have to, worry about bills and things like that. So it's like so now, like, from a difference of almost every interaction I have is negative to now all of my interactions are pretty much positive. I have a lot of free mental space, so I can think about, me and the changes that I want to make. So that's like the biggest difference between those two.
Yeah, I totally understand that deep desire to control your time, to have your own time to yourself. And obviously, it has a lot of benefits. So now you have more time to focus on yourself, and you've been working on figuring out a diet, figuring out exercise. What do you find working for you today? And what are some things, if they didn't work, what were those things like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say it has been quite the journey, like, through this entire process, like the um and maybe just this year I really started to try to frame it as, learning, because I would have, setbacks or whatever. Um, like, for example, um, one of the times when I was like really consistent, really, going hard in the gym and everything like that, I ended up getting like a shoulder injury, which is like um a injury that was like um older, like from the factory work, that kind of got aggravated once I started going to the gym. So I couldn't like work out for like 2 or 3 months. I had to go to like physical therapy. Um, and because of that, it got harder to get back into the routine. But I took it as a learning experience of like, okay, I need to like listen to my body, right? Like, cause the thing is, I would feel the pain and I would just keep going. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well, maybe if my
Yeah.
shoulder gets stronger, it'll go away.
It'll go away. I've been there.
Yeah. So I like kept
And now
going,
I
and then
can't do
one
stuff with my left knee. So
exactly. Like, it's wild. How, but again, I took it as a learning experience, right? Of like learning of, okay, I need to listen to my body. I learned a lot about like positioning, right? Because I used to do like the press like this, and I'm like, well, it needs to be like at a 45-degree angle. If you're doing like lateral raises, they need to be at 45 and not straight. And I also learned that usually in workout programs, there's a lot of pushing on the shoulders, but not a lot of pulling. And that pushing like kind of rotates the shoulders forward, and you need to you need to actually do more pulling than you do pushing, right? So even though that injury hurt and it kept me sidelined for a while, I learned a lot. So now I know what to do, because at the end of the day, that injury was there. It was going to happen at some point, right? So now I got it out the way and I know what to do. And I learned a lot to prevent that injury from happening again. Um, and so just like little things like that. I even had like a adductor injury because at the gym they had like a so for the people who, I live in Kansas City, Missouri, right? And I know other cities have this, but we have a gym called Chiefs Fit, right? And it's like painted with all kind of Chief stuff, and
that's
um
cool.
yeah, it is pretty cool. People always think it's like weird though when they come here. There's like, I have a Chiefs gym. I'm like, hey, other cities that have football teams, it ain't just us. We're not crazy.
I don't think we
But
have one for the Dolphins. What the heck?
yeah, I know Dallas has one in Chicago and the Bears. So maybe they'll bring one to Miami.
All right, we need to get on that. We're behind.
It's cool though. Like, I don't know, just like, because everyone in there probably likes the Chiefs, so it's like it's
Right.
just a vibe in there because
It's a
everyone
good
had kind of
energy.
yeah, yeah. But they had like this class that they call it the combine that like kind of had some drills from the NFL draft combine. So again, I haven't really like exercised. I feel like I've done the weights, but I haven't really like ran in a long time, right? Probably since high school. I really can't think of the last time I ran, if I'm being honest. So I did the combine class, and then my like adductors were so sore, like I couldn't even like sit down, and this was like for like a week, and then so then after that, so again, it stopped me from the gym again. But for the longest, this adductor thing, it kept hurting and hurting. The pain would go down, but it was literally like 4 months later, like my adductor still hurt. So I'm like, okay,
Oh my
this is
God.
weird. Yeah, and but it wasn't like bad pain. It was just like if I
It's
would do
there.
something, like, oh yeah, yeah. So that made me learn about different things like mobility, right? So I learned about mobility because I sit at the desk most of the day, recording videos and stuff like that. So my hips and adductors are tight. They don't stretch. They don't really move around. So I learned about mobility and I started doing mobility, specifically. I do it for my whole body now, but I did it specifically for my hips for like 2 months. And like, so now that pain has gone away, right? Like now I can wake up in the morning and have no adductor pain. Um, so again, even if I didn't take that combine class, I at some point would have gotten that injury. I would have, my nephews would have been like, "Hey, let's go play basketball," and then I would have,
Yeah.
been on the floor in pain. 'Cause, like, it would have happened because I haven't moved those body parts. So throughout this whole process, even though I've had setbacks, I've learned a lot about my body, about the human body, and things that I can do to make myself healthier and more resilient.
In your bios, it's like the very first thing that you have listed is best dad ever. And I believe that because I follow you in both places and especially on Instagram, you share a lot of stuff that you do with your kids and you take them to meet like professional soccer players and you coach their soccer teams. And you take them to matches and you bring them to Miami for conferences sometimes. And so you definitely do win best dad ever. I'm like, if you ever want to adopt someone else, like just let me know. Like we can talk. Because I'll like definitely have FOMO from all the kids or all the things that your kids get to do. I'm like, can I hang out? um, but like I would love to know, like how do you balance all of that? Because you almost make it look like a full-time job, everything that you're doing for your kids on top of your full-time job of Auth0. So like what's the balance of that work life aspect and like being able to have so much energy for like all the things that your kids are doing too?
Yeah, that's a multi-layer question, but we can get into some of those layers. So number one, um, I think so when I had first started working at Auth0, um, we had so this is on it's like with my first like 2 or 3 months. I didn't really know a lot about like how the company worked or anything like that. I was still doing like on board and all that type of stuff. But we had like a big event, like a big launch event, like a quarter launch event thing. I forgot what it's called, forgive me. But we had like a big event where it was streaming and it was all the executives and C-suite people giving talks and stuff like that. And our CMO gave a talk, and what he said stuck with me, and it was amazing to hear as my first like introduction to the C-suite in our company. Um, and he was like, basically, he said like me, I'm not concerned with being a great marketer. That's what he said. And he's a CMO, right? He's like, I don't care about being a great marketer. He's like, what I do care about is being a good dad and being a good husband. He was like, but I
Wow.
also know in order for me to be a good dad and a good husband, I have to do well as a marketer. And so going into a company, because that's how like I want to be. Like I want to be, and it's not that I don't, care about being a developer or anything like that, but on my tombstone, I don't want developer, right? I want
Right.
here lies William Johnson, the best dad and the best husband. That's what I want on my
Mm.
tombstone, right? So for me to already have that mentality and hear that from the C suite was like, okay, this is the type of company that I want to be at, because though their mindsets are aligned with mine. So I do know that the better I do here, the better I do at work, the better I can provide for my family, because that's my number one goal, right? At the end of the day. So like so those two things are like a driving force for each other. Like for example, if like for example, um my my son wants, I know that, so I'm trying to, okay, for example,
And
in
let's just
order
pause for a
for
second because I don't think we also addressed you have 5 kids, right?
6.
6. Okay, my bad. So it's
Yeah.
like when it's son, it's like which so this is like the Brady family, this is like the Partridge family. So this is a big family.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue. So your son.
Yeah, so my son, he wanted he wants to meet the players and stuff like that. And so I know one of the benefits of having season tickets is that you get the meet the players, right? And season tickets, aren't inexpensive, right? But I want to give him that experience, right? So what can I do, in work or even outside of work in order for me to be able to finance this to where he can get that experience? And those are the type of things that drive me. And so, if I do need to work till 7 or later, or work on the weekend if I want to, or like whatever those things are, I know that if I know the reward is going to be worth it, then I'll put in the effort to do that. So that's the kind of the things that kind of drive me, and the company definitely um allows that, right? They give me the flexibility. Like if my son gets sick, like for example, uh like my whole family end up getting COVID. Like it literally went from one person to one person, right? And so like every day I was in Slack, like, my daughter got it. Oh, no, both my sons got it, and then my other son
Oh
got it.
god.
And so my manager was like, he was like, how about you just take off for like a week and just, you know, worry about your family, right? Like I didn't ask for it, they told me to. So like they support, that, sometimes that you need to take some time off to support the family.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, that's a dream situation, right? Where you don't feel like you have to beg to take care of your kids or you don't have to make some big grand case to, make make the time to, get your kids medicine or take care of them or whatever. I mean, this should be obvious first priority for everyone, and so to have a company that like understands this and values this upfront is, amazing. And so, you mentioned the season tickets, so that your son can meet the players. You also bring your girls to the matches, the women's matches, right?
Yeah.
And they've all met the players too. And then all of a sudden, everybody's in soccer, I feel like. Everybody started playing soccer. So,
Yeah.
and then the next thing I know, you're coaching all of the teams. And like when I was preparing for this interview, I was like looking through your tweets and it was so funny because you were like, seeing Deion Sanders makes me want to coach my kids' teams. And then like a month later, you're like, I'm coaching my kids' teams now. So what happened? Like, what was was it all Deion Sanders? Is he the inspo there?
No, I mean, he's definitely like part of it, because no, especially he was at Jackson State, coaching his two sons and his daughters in basketball, and they're like all together in this journey as a family was like super inspirational. But the thing is, my oldest daughter, right, to help differentiate, she's been wanting to play soccer. She told me since the first grade. She's in the sixth grade now, or seventh actually. And plus, also we homeschool, so it's kind of hard for me to keep up the grades, because it's like they're just here at home. I don't take them to a middle school or anything like that. But anyway, my oldest daughter, she wanted to play soccer, like she said, since first grade. I don't believe her, but I didn't, because I feel like it's only been like 3 years. There's no way it's been like 7 years anyway.
Right. No, time
um,
goes by fast.
yeah. But I just really didn't have the time or the money, right? Like there's no I would have, because I worked Saturdays, like when I was doing those 12-hour shifts. There's no way I could have got her to the games. Maybe I could have took her to practice. And we really didn't have the money. Like even if we did like a recreational league for $120, like that, for us back then, that was like a tight amount of money to put out for something. So it really just didn't I don't think it would have been a good experience for anyone. Um, so now, I'm at Auth0, and I have the time, the mental space, the money and everything like that. So I decided to put her in to soccer. And also just a big like um context. I grew up, everyone played basketball and football. Nobody played soccer. And soccer was like the only sport that we would actually crack on. Like we would like roast soccer because it was like not, I don't know, for some reason just we didn't like it. So people would actually like roast soccer. Like I've never watched a soccer match, but it was just, if you play soccer, you were like corny or something, right? That's just how I grew up, right?
Yeah, no, I grew up in a big like football, American football family too. And it was always just like, why would you watch this? There's only like 3 points in the entire game
Yeah.
between two teams. Like everybody's just running around. And it's like, then later you're like, oh, wait, this is actually pretty cool. And you also realize like, American football teams kind of score the same amount. They just like multiply it by 6 or 7. So
Yeah, exactly,
it feels
exactly.
higher.
Yeah, people like, oh, it was a 20-point blowout. No, it was a 3-point blowout. But yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
so I signed her up for soccer, and it's a recreational league, volunteer coach. So no one wanted to volunteer to coach. So then the organizer was like, well, if we can't get a coach, then we would have to like cancel the team and refund everybody their money. And I was like, well, I don't want that to happen to my daughter, especially after me procrastinating, since, a couple years for her to play. I was like, I'm going to volunteer to coach so she'll be able to get this experience. And And so now I was like, okay, well, I gotta learn soccer because I know absolutely nothing about it. So I had bought
So
like
your Ted Lasso
FIFA.
moment.
Yeah. So I bought FIFA, and I just started like watching matches. This was like before like even the professional seasons had started. So I was just like watching random like stuff on YouTube or whatever. And then and I still wasn't liking soccer yet. I just like knew how to play. I knew the basics to kind of teach the kids. And then we had our first game as a team, and then we won like 7-0. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, and like it was so hype, right? The parents are
That
screaming,
is a
and
blowout.
yeah, yeah, and I'm like, what? I'm going crazy on the sidelines as a coach. This is my first experience. So it's really so now for me to go from roasting soccer to now like wanting to be a season ticket holder, and like within like 10 months, it's really because of the kids that I coach that kind of like really got me into it. And my daughter is specifically responsible because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even want to check that out at all.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And now you're in a rec league too, right?
Yeah, I'm in a rec league. So, and that's another thing. So with as far as like the health things that I'm doing, like I take walks either 30 to 45 minutes a day, depending on if I can, fit in that extra 15. I take walks, and that's to like help with like, trying to lower my heart rate and my blood pressure and things like that. And then another thing I started doing is um usually I like did weights and went to the gym, but I switched to body weight workouts just because I have no excuses now, right? I can easily be like, oh, I'm tired. I don't want to go to the gym. I can always get on the floor and do some push ups. So I decided to switch to, and even when I travel, I can do it in my hotel. I'm trying to eliminate excuses as much as possible because this has been
Yeah.
such a journey with so many setbacks. I'm trying to like make it easy for me as possible. So walking and body weight is what I've been doing these last couple of months. But I was like, what's an even other way I can get more activity? But like, I don't want to do another thing that's like a workout. Like, I just want to do something where, like I'm just out. So I was like, oh, I should sign up for soccer since I've been learning and trying to learn with the kids. So the soccer thing is like, yeah, I do wear my Apple Watches to see where my heart rate is, but it's like a me for way to have like unstructured activity is really what the goal was for it.
Yeah, I like that too. I have my own thing too. Like, yeah, I keep up with my consistent workouts, but I do like aerial silks, and it's like a fun thing that's more like creative or open ended. That's not just like reps and sets, or
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you
Yeah.
can be more you. And I feel like that when you like do aerial or you do soccer or whatever it is, it's almost like that's the result of all of the other work that you do. Like all of the work that you do
Hmm.
throughout the week while working out, it shows up on the field or in, the studio or wherever it is. And it's like, that's kind of another thing that motivates me. Okay. The more consistent and the better I do on my workouts, the better I am going to be as an aerialist. I'm sure, the better it is for a better time it is for you on the pitch, if you're
Yeah,
staying
yeah.
consistent working out.
Yeah, is exactly. I would. Yeah, it's almost it's and the fun thing you say that is I try to um rethink how I train, right? Instead of just training to train, I was like, well, how about I train to be a better soccer player? Like, what if that's the total goal, right? So let's throw out losing weight and like all of that stuff, right? Because I mean, I don't know a overweight soccer player, so at least not a professional. So I was like, how about I train? Like, that's my goal is to train to be a soccer player. So I've been like looking up routines and like, stuff that they do or whatever and stuff like that, and I noticed that they do a lot of mobility and stretching. So I kind of actually switched. Oh, and recovery too. I think I tweeted about
Oh,
that. I literally spend more time like foam because I wake up like at 5:30. So I wake up and foam roll and do mobility. And then I like take a walk like a little later. So that's how I kind of start my day easy, and then I do the workout or either like midday or in the evening. But anyway, that it's just funny that you said that about the training makes you better for like the pitch or doing aerial, because that's actually the approach that I tried to take. I tried to take out of trying to make it all about losing weight, and I'll make it all about being a better athlete and soccer player.
so this is the final segment of the show. Every guest has 3 questions, and this is called Start, Stop, Continue. It's something that we
Hmm.
practice at G2I whenever we're working on projects and initiatives, and we need to do a retrospective. Like our retrospectives are like in the format of what am I going to start doing that I've learned from this experience? What am I going to stop doing from what I learned from this experience, and what is working? What am I going to continue doing? So this can be work related, this can be non-work related, but let's do your start, stop, continue. So start with start. What's something that you'd like to start doing?
Something I want to start, and it's something I used to do but haven't done in a while, um, is that I want to start finding more ways I can give opportunities to other people. Like a lot of times I would, hook people up with, either like podcast interviews or streams or conference talks. And I haven't done that lately though as much as I used to. And that was like really fulfilling for me. So I definitely want to start that back up of like finding ways of how can I give people opportunities that will help them either in their career or even personal life or whatever they may need. So I want to start just keep my eye open and looking out for people more.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. All right. So what's your stop?
My stop is that I want to stop um, getting in my head about the whole um, health and weight loss thing because my mental state, as much as I try not to be, it affects like how I do with it, right? If I um go to a birthday party and eat a piece of cake. Now I'm like, oh, like, and it's so I want to stop that part. Um, and just realize that things are going to happen that may not be perfect, and just realize that it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as you're being consistent and focused on the same end goal that you've had, that you'll get there. But yeah, I just want to stop kind of letting the mistakes kind of take over, and I start on this negative spiral that usually happens. So I'm getting better, but I want to stop it altogether.
Yeah, that is very hard. That's challenging. So sending you lots of strength for that. All right. So what is your favorite thing that's working for you? What do you want to keep continuing doing?
I want to continue is just being super focused on like the personality switch of the whole health thing, because we only have so much willpower, right? Like I can only force myself to work out and force myself to eat, chicken and spinach for so long. In order for me for this to be sustainable, it has to become part of who I am. So that can be from like the things I read, the people I talk to, the tweets I see, the YouTube videos I watch, right? So I want to continue. And that's something I have been doing, like with the switch of like, treating my health as like I'm trying to be a better soccer player. My goal is to like make these things a part of who I am, so I don't have to think about it. It's just what I do, right? You know. So that's why I want to continue making the personality shift of being a healthy person, right? That's like the main thing I want to continue, and it has been, in my opinion, way better and actually way easier than trying to force myself to do it. Just making it part of who I am is almost as like I get compelled to do it. Like I'll wake up and be like, I want to, instead of, you wake up, oh, I gotta work out. When you're when you're trying to force yourself, or lately I've been waking up and be like, I want to work out today. It's like a whole different thing, and
Yeah.
it's way easier. So I just want to continue that personality shift.
You said willpower earlier. I feel like that's like a trademark, like hashtag willpower for like you. Just have that little pun there. But it could be a whole thing. I don't know. Feel free to noodle on that idea.
Yeah, I'll I'll
um,
uh I'll send you some royalties if it goes off.
yeah, let me know. Okay, well, awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining as a guest for our developer health show. Really looking forward to seeing you in Miami. Maybe we'll see each other at a conference before then. But really quickly, how should people follow you? How do people find you?
The two best places to find me, at least as of right now, is definitely Twitter, and that's at Will Johnson IO. You can also find me on LinkedIn as well at William Johnson, at my full government, and probably put in William Johnson and then Okta, because my name is super common, and you're probably gonna come up with a bunch of people that's not me. So put William Johnson and Okta.
All right, awesome. Okay, so go find Will, go follow Will. He's sharing a lot about his health journey and everything that he's trying and all of his experiences, and it's been fascinating. So, thanks so much, Will. Appreciate it, and we'll see each other soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining us for the Developer Health Show. Check out the link in the episode description to find our Developer Health Holiday Gift Guide, packed with items to support mobility, focus, and rest. You'll also find a few great recommendations from some of our guests on the show, including today's guest, Will Johnson. And I promise it's not sporting KC merch. Be sure to subscribe to our show on Spotify, Apple, Google, or YouTube, and connect with G2I for any of your engineering hiring needs. Catch you next time.